Cover Story. This week we speak to Congress leader Shankar Aiyar. He's a man who's known for his sharp political comments and sometimes also his politically incorrect comments. Welcome to Cover Story, Mr. Aiyar. Welcome back to Cover Story, I would say. And also, it's been a month of the Modi government. So, are you feeling the Achhe Din yet?
I think he's done one excellent job. He slammed the door on Subramaniam Swamy. I thoroughly approve of that. The rest, I don't think I've ever known a month of bigger mistakes and repeated mistakes and several mistakes than any other incoming government that I have seen. It begins by alienating Jammu Kashmir by raising Article 370 as an issue and ends his 30 months by bringing into question the Official Languages Act and the amendment of 1967, which had put the sleeping dog to lie and roused separatist sentiment in the deep south as well. At this rate, we will be left with Gandhinagar as India.
Well, with Gandhinagar as a role model, everything, all the ministers are making a pilgrim to Gandhinagar to find out how it works.
Well, they also make pilgrimages to Canterbury, where the murder in the cathedral took place.
More than that, Mr. Aiyar, do you see, this Article 370 and other things, echoes of the RSS coming out, this...
It's not echoes, this is the agenda. And this is the Modi government's existential problem. They have been brought to power by forces which are the most reactionary, dangerous, communal that we have in this country. Forces that brought them to power have not brought Modi to power in order to see him converted into a Nehruvian secularist. They want him to be what Modi was, a pracharak. And so I think this battle between proto-Modi and deutero-Modi is going to continue right through the remaining 5 years, and probably the more vicious element of it will come to the fore towards the end of the tenure rather than right at the start.
Okay.
I think there will be a strong attempt on the part of the other half of Modi's Janus face, represented allegedly by people like Arun Jaitley. There is a modern-minded man who wishes to make India strong, take us into the 21st century. I'm not willing to be fooled by this, as some of my colleagues apparently have been. I only see the really dangerous agenda lurking below the surface. The real lesson of the 16th of May is that the alert button is on permanent red, and we should be looking out for that. For the rest, well, we can criticize, but that will be at the edges. It will be addressing a false Modi. The real Modi lies in his real agenda, which he has apparently, according to his mother, cultivated since about the age of 10, when he first went out of his home. He seems ultimately to have found his vocation as a very effective RSS pracharak. So possibly from the age of 10, his wandering mind was going towards that agenda. Now, I can't believe that just because he's become Prime Minister, he's just abandoned the purpose for which he was searching for a meaning in life, apparently since the age of 10, which is a very, very young age.
So what is wrong in being an RSS pracharak if he doesn't, in Gujarat-like situation doesn't happen again? If he's going to deliver well administratively, if he's going to improve the economy, which is our biggest crisis right now, what's wrong?
Number one, I don't believe RSS pracharaks can deliver an effective administration or
he's
deliver
done it
a
in
good
Gujarat.
economy. He hasn't. In Gujarat, we have had a very long history of considerable prosperity. And this goes back to the establishment of the East India Company in Surat. So the history of Gujarati businessmen of all communities, incidentally, being very successful entrepreneurs is a well-established Gujarat narrative. What was required to be done in Gujarat from about the time that Modi became the chief minister there, and indeed from much before, was to improve the human development indicators. And I think it is shocking that a state which is perhaps number 2 or number 3 in terms of some indicators growth and income should be performing as badly as Gujarat has done over the last 15 years.
See, statistics can be argued anyway, but look at what he's done since he's taken office. He's taken some good strict measures, which he's increased the prices of rail, for instance, rail fares, which, you know, your Congress government didn't do, and these are reforms that need to be done.
Till 2 months ago.
Dinesh Trivedi tried to do the budget and he was fired by Mamta. This is your Congress budget, which he had the backbone to implement.
Till 2 months ago, there was heavy criticism of every attempt the Congress made to ensure through higher prices that there would be a more balanced budget. Now, if what we were doing was wrong, then surely what we were doing continues to be wrong today. And every attempt the Congress made to ensure through higher prices that there would be a more balanced budget. Now, if what we were doing was wrong, then surely what we were doing continues to be wrong today. And what we were doing was right, then it continues to be right. And if his judgment is that, look, I'm not responsible for the rise in passenger fares and freight fares, that's because the previous government has done it. So if all you're going to do is to implement what the previous government did, then why did we go to all the trouble and expense of changing the government?
Because the previous government had it on the drawing board. They didn't have the political will to implement it. Modi has done that. And look, I mean, the reaction has not been negative.
I think out there in the general public, there is anger. There's anger at what has been done.
We've had reporters talking to people on passenger fares. They're saying, if you improve the amenities, if you get us a better rail coach, we don't mind.
I don't mind. I think what we did was to improve the amenities and not raise the fares. So now that the fares have been raised, let us see whether he does improve the amenities. I don't see a person who has the kind of priorities that he displayed in Gujarat doing that. What he is doing, what he's going to do, if he continues with the Gujarat model, is to heavily subsidize the rich. That's what he's going to do with government revenues, because that is what he did in Gujarat. There is nothing more to the Gujarat model than favoring big business and supporting them to the hilt. What is the role of the state? If the role of the state is to encourage big business because something will trickle down, well, those of you who favor such a model are welcome to vote for Mr. Modi. But we in the Congress party, and I as an individual, have stood for an alternative model. I think we got very confused about that model after 1991. But I still, notwithstanding the fact that our marginally alternative model also did not give us all the results that we wanted, except that more people have been raised above the poverty line in the 10 years of the UPA than have ever before been raised. It amounts to about 150 million people.
But Modi himself has said, to be fair, in his Lok Sabha speech, that Gujarat model is not a one-size-fits-all. He says there will be different, models.
Yeah, I know he's come to that late wisdom when he's moved from Gandhinagar to Delhi. So he is a shifting.
But at least he's changing.
If he's a chameleon.
I would say he's a man who's adapting to the change in circumstances. He knows that what works in the Gujarat does not work in the rest of India.
He didn't know this till the 16th of May.
But till the 16th of May, he was showcasing Gujarat as, look, this is what I've done over there.
Well, that is exactly my point.
Rahul Gandhi,
that is
who has done nothing. What is your Rahul Gandhi showcase? What does the Congress...
Firstly, he's not my Rahul Gandhi.
The
He's
Congress
the Congress Party's Rahul Gandhi. But before we get into that argument, I want to go back to Mr. Modi. What Modi says now, you lap up. What Modi said then, you've lapped up. I don't understand this. If he knew that the Gujarat model...
But look at the mandate he's got. You have to give a man a chance with such a mandate.
What is the mandate that he's got? He's got exactly the same percentage of votes as the Congress got 5 years ago.
But our system runs on seats.
Our system runs in such a way...
And look what the Congress did with those.
No, that's fine. I'm not denying that he's got a mandate in terms of seats. I'm trying to dispute the idea that he's got a mandate in terms of votes. In terms of votes, there are two figures I have with me.
Argument.
One is,
yes,
no, if you don't want the argument, I won't give it to you.
But at the end of the day, he is here. He is.
Of course he's there. And at the end of the day, I am still here to criticize him. So why get upset about my criticizing him? I'm criticizing him for having promoted a model which after he gets elected, he says doesn't fit everybody. If you ask me, the Gujarat model is a size that doesn't fit Gujarat at all.
We're talking about crony capitalism, but one thing Modi has done, which I don't know, you may agree with him, is this decision not to raise gas prices the way, some industrialists want him to.
He has not taken that decision.
He's deferred it.
He's decided to defer it. So there's a big difference between the two.
Which the UPA government was on the verge of doing.
Yes, it would have done it. It would have done it.
So I think in this decision you may agree with the Modi government.
No, it's not a decision that I agree or disagree with. I disagreed with the idea that the government of India should be administering the prices of natural gas. I always was in favor of the government administering the prices of petroleum products that are based on gas. When we start interfering in the market with the price of natural gas, when we don't interfere in the case of crude oil, then you discourage foreign investment. And I think what is happening in the Krishna-Godavari basin shows that even the biggest Indian companies do not have the financial resources and the technology, the high technology, to go into a very high risk but extremely high profit business like the discovery of oil and gas. And so we must maintain an atmosphere in which there is a large amount of foreign investment, foreign technology, foreign know-how that comes into this oil and gas sector. But unfortunately, once we've started intervening in the natural gas price market, interest in India as an E&P destination, that is exploration and production destination, has just gone through the window. It's very sad.
But the other thing also to change the topic is your old friend Subramaniam Swamy. He's, as you know, his PIL has found favor with the court. They've issued summons on the National Herald case.
One of the nice things about Subramaniam Swamy is that every case he takes to court gets thrown out. So going by
the 2G case? The 2G case did not get thrown out.
What is, there are other reasons for which the 2G case has gone on. And as far as I can see, the 2G case is going on and on and on and on. And while Raj has had to spend time under judicial custody, which most Indians take to be some kind of punishment, is not a case that has been decided. But in any case, to come back to whatever Swamy has done now, I leave it to the courts to carry matters forward. I have no comment to make on that.
But do you feel, he's been saying that he wants a chance, he makes all these statements that he wants, his ultimate aim is to get either Sonia or Rahul in court where he can cross-examine them. He says nobody will stand up to his cross-examination.
Well, if the court allows him to do it, let the court allow him to do it. Why should I intervene in the judicial process? He won't be able to get them into court and personally cross-examine them unless the court orders that be done. So we'll wait.
Now, what do you think of this Modi's idea of having a lean government? He's juggled a lot of ministries.
The expression originally is a lean and mean government. I assure you, he'll give you a mean government. I don't know how long he'll have a lean government.
But he's getting a lot of praise for the fact that he's cut down flab. But there's some confusion about, for instance, clubbing different ministries together.
I'm sure he'll be congratulated on cutting down government flab so that the flab gets transferred to his best friends sitting in Bombay and Ahmednagar.
But apart from, so far his decisions, we'll have to wait and see what the budget is like. But so far the decisions haven't really been so, it's only been a month, but they've been more saying...
I want you to start reeling off what these famous decisions are. I don't think any other Prime Minister has given us a laugh a day like he has.
But what don't you like about him going to PMO, going to offices?
Take one. His president's address says zero tolerance on violence against women. So what's Nehal Chand Meghwal doing sitting as a council minister? And who is he? Nehal Chand who or who Meghwal? Why is he so important to him? Why should the man remain there in terms of the zero tolerance? Where is the zero tolerance? So therefore, I am not willing to be taken in, as apparently you are, with these kind of broad statements of intent, which don't appear to square with the facts. Imagine giving a president's address in which you don't even mention West Asia or the Gulf. And the first major foreign policy crisis that comes is the one in Iraq. And when it comes up, unlike in the past, when owing to our cultivation of West Asian leaders, our ministers sitting in Delhi were able to immediately get in touch with their counterparts or even with more senior people and then use a panoply of diplomats to get people out of these kinds of difficulties. These people do not have any personal contacts because they made it completely clear that their preference is to deal with Israel. And there's not even a mention of West Asia. And that's where 7 million of our people are. That is where we get $300 million of foreign exchange remittances from, is where we purchase 70% of our oil from. And you're so neglectful of them. Why? Why is he so neglectful? Because he says we have 1,200 years of a slave mentality. Now, it's extraordinary to view the history of the Hindu-Islamic interaction over a period of about 700 years as consisting of nothing but a slave mentality. And if that is the attitude you have towards the Muslims of India, then from that you start getting an indication of why the Muslims of the world are completely neglected in the first presidential address. So I am sorry, I am not willing to think that Mr. Modi has undertaken a lobotomy.
Despite that invitation to Nawaz Sharif, what do you think of that?
Well, I happened to go to Pakistan within a week or so of that. 2 weeks.
What was the reaction?
The public opinion there is inflamed. That according, now I'm not vouching for it, but the Pakistani view of the briefing given by the Foreign Secretary of the conversation between Nawaz Sharif and Modi is that Modi gave him a wigging and that he took it lying down. And there's tremendous public anger there, fortunately at the moment directed against Nawaz Sharif rather than our own man. And the real question that arises, if you built up yourself as somebody with a chest of 56 inches and ready to give a muhtod jawab, well, the terrorists of Pakistan are not really under the control of the government of Pakistan. And if there is a terrorist attack here and we start doing what his great mentor, Arun Shourie, advised him on the floor of the House, that if they take a tooth, we'll take a jaw. Well, if this is the kind of militaristic attitude that you're going to have, then the country, the subcontinent, and given that both countries have got nuclear weapons, all of humanity, the planet, is in serious danger. We have to ensure that the man remains moderate and not true to his own beliefs. Now, that's impossible, or is asking the impossible, but still I'll try.
You seem to be one of the last congressmen standing who's trying. A lot of your colleagues have, kind of switched over to the other side, some publicly, some making secret overtures.
Well, I've never been afraid of standing on my own. One of my mother's favorite lines was from Polonius in Hamlet, where he says, "Be true to thyself, and it follows as night the day, that thou canst be false to no man." And while Shakespeare put those words mockingly in the mouth of Polonius, I think there's huge wisdom there. And I, therefore, will remain true to my perceptions and my principles, even if that means that I'm going to be the outlier, which is what I've become in the Congress Party. I am the outlier. But I'm content with that because I've been true to what I think there is. Now, I have always been extremely worried about the emergence and now the coronation, as they called it, of Narendra Modi. And I believe that it is the duty of every congressman not to fall in with this kind of empty praise, but to be ever vigilant, so that when Modi's Reichstag moment comes, as it came when he got Godhra, at that moment we are ready and prepared to go in to do battle for the idea of India.
But are you ready and prepared? Post the loss, I have not seen any introspection. We've heard.
Well, I'm told by
Chintan Shivar on the cards.
Well, I share your concern, but that's as an outlier. I'm told that had I been closer to the center of things, then I would have been able to see the very vigorous introspection that is going on. But assuming that such introspection is going on at higher or more core levels, I'm afraid I don't know what it is. And I'm content to wait until the Antony Committee reports, and presumably thereafter we will have Chintan Shivar or something equivalent to that very quickly. But I caution that even the Antony Committee report with which I was involved, which submitted its report in November 1999,
Exactly,
it didn't reach the working committee for about 7 months, and even then in bowdlerized form.
But even now it's not been implemented.
And even now it's not been implemented. You're absolutely right.
What were some of the key points that you had suggested then, which we could...
Well, organizationally, I think we suggested 2 or 3 things. One was that going back to the Shankar report, and the AICC resolution that had been, taken forward by Rajiv Gandhi, that we should have an elected establishment from the block level right up to the presidentship of the AICC. And then, so that was one set of recommendations. The other was, and that was I think very significant for elections, that we must have the declaration of candidates made for Parliament 6 months in advance
and not 6
of
days.
the anticipated date, and 3 months in advance of the anticipated date for an assembly poll. And that's significant for elections, that we must have the declaration of candidates made for Parliament 6 months in advance
and not 6
of
days.
the anticipated date, and 3 months in advance of the anticipated date for an assembly poll. And that's still not happening. Indeed, we had the fairly humorous situation where with 2 hours to go for the Tamil Nadu nominations to close, Delhi had forgotten to name a candidate for Madras South, for Chennai South. And then frantic phone calls from Satyamurthy Bhavan resulted in somebody being named. Now, I lost very, very badly. I got the far and away the lowest vote I've ever had in 7 elections. But somebody comforted me with the thought that my vote was larger than the votes received by all our 3 candidates in Chennai. Now, if that's the situation to which we've been reduced, it's clear that radical changes will have to be effected. I was very excited by Rahul Gandhi's first speech when we made him the vice president of the party, because that indicated that there was going to be radical change. And he said after Kejriwal's stunning victory in the Delhi elections that the Congress party was going to be changed in ways that we cannot even imagine. And so I'm hoping that whatever churning is going on in the higher or the more close circles of the Congress to the leadership, that it will result in revolutionary changes, because we are in a position that we've never been in before. We are number 3 in a very large number of places. And my brother, with whom I often disagree, but who has a very sharp mind, he pointed out to me at dinner the other day that it's common in Indian democracy and most democracies for the number 2 to become the number 1, but it's unusual for the number 3 to become the number 1. And so the challenge before the party is of such a revolutionary nature, we've never faced this before, that perhaps the solutions that have to be found will also have to be pretty radical.
So there's no, a lot of people are comparing this to when Indira Gandhi lost after the emergency. Is there a comparison, the situation?
Yes.
They're always saying she bounced back, so will we. That's the...
Yeah, well, yes and no. I don't think the extent of anger against the Congress is as great, has been as great in 2014 as it was in 1977. There's a lot of anger then. Now I think there's more disappointment. But the result of that anger was for us to still have, I think we were nearly at 200 seats or something. At least we were over 150. And large parts of India, particularly southern India, had stood by Indira Gandhi even then. Now we've been decimated virtually everywhere. We have a surprise and very welcome result in Kerala, where normally the pendulum swings in the other direction, but this time hasn't. And there are a couple of states in the northeast, Mizoram is one, Manipur is another, where we've succeeded in hanging on. But almost everywhere else in the country, we've really received a drubbing. And in these circumstances, that's what accounts for our being at 44. So I'm not as upset at Modi's BJP getting the same share of votes as the Congress did 5 years ago, as I am at the way in which everyone seems to have gained at our expense.
Right.
Our seats have gone to everybody else. Everybody else. So we are now really very low down. But I think back to the BJP in 1984. They were down to 2 seats in the Lok Sabha.
They began with 2 seats.
And in 1984 and also in 1952. And yet they succeeded in building themselves up. Because if, as Harold Wilson said, a week is a long time in politics, and as I've said, 4 weeks is a long time for the Modi government, 5 years is an eternity. And what could happen later, I don't know. That it will happen, I have no doubt. But would we be ready and fitted to take advantage of that opportunity when it arises? That is, I think, the big question. It's being wrestled with at levels of the Congress party, at ethereal levels of the Congress party, to which I cannot aspire. But I hope that as a consequence of that, because many of these are issues that have already been considered several times over the last 2 or 3 decades, I think it's not difficult to arrive at certain conclusions, but I don't know what those conclusions are going to be. So come back in 6 months' time.
We're going to take you up on that invitation. Well, there you have it. Shankar Aiyar may have lost the government, but he hasn't lost his political bite. And that's all from us this week. Keep watching Cover Story, and we'll see you again same time next week.